This week was kind of the revolving door of VTuber weeks. We had a lot of people debuting and a lot of people graduating, so let's get some of the graduations out the way first. Idol had their big series of goodbyes to 5 of their talents this week, with Kata, Juna, Rin, Fuyo and Meika each having their own graduation day. If you're out of the loop, this many graduations back to back may look kinda alarming, but we've known these were coming for a while. For some context, a few months back the Idol Corp agency was bought by Brave Group, the pretty massive Japanese holding company that owns Globe, Vreverie, Vshojo, some other JP groups and now Idol. Back when this was announced, the talents were given the choice of staying with the agency through the merger or leaving with their IPs. And as you can probably guess, the 5 that I just listed as graduating decided to leave. Since they get to keep their IPs though, they'll still be operating at least somewhat under their names, or slight variations like Rin, Penrose and Snappy. A name change that I do believe has temporarily cost Rin her YouTube verification. I'm certain she'd say it was worth it. Each of the girls had a final stream before their graduation, with Kata's being the day after Genesis's live concert and Juna's also being where she revealed her newest model and dropped her original song Pull the Trigger. Juna's entire channel also got demonetized shortly after for reusing content somehow. She submitted an appeal, so hopefully it will get restored soon. Juna was also announced as the 4th and final guest for Doki and Mint's concert Phantom Thief's Revenge that we talked about last week, meaning this concert really is the X-Agency special. Unrelated to the graduations, but Yena from Idol's most recent gen did also accidentally delete her account while trying to convert it to a brand account. She's in contact with YouTube to hopefully try and get it back, but if you can't find it before then, that's why. And a quick update from Future Me, it does seem she's gotten her channel back and Juna is also remonetized, so rare YouTube W's. And for another big graduation, we had Nova from Vreverie announcing earlier this week that she has finally gotten the rights to her IP and will be graduating from the agency. Following the previous graduations that we talked about a few weeks ago, this leaves Vrev at about 2 active members by my count, since Estella also had her final stream earlier this week. Now, normally this would be the part where I talk about how sad the graduation is and wish the talent the best, but honestly at this point Vrev is pretty well known as kinda the worst. That shouldn't come as a shock given the rapid graduations, and obviously don't blame the talents for anything, but yeah, everything we've heard about the behind the scenes management doesn't paint a pretty picture. So I'm honestly just happy Nova is free and continue on with her IP and connections and everything, since that was likely what was keeping her in the agency for this long. It does suck that she probably had to give up a kidney to afford whatever price they demanded, so hey, go show her some support. Links to everything will be below as always. Now for some not graduations, I mentioned somewhat ominously last week that Vshojo dropped this teaser image as I was recording. Well, turns out that teaser was for an entire new generation of Vshojo's Japanese branch named Nova. A lot of Novas in today's news, I guess. This new generation of 4 is set to debut on the Friday and Saturday of next week on their various Twitch channels. As an interesting side note, Vshojo opened up both JP and EN auditions around the same time in early July of this year, with the applications both closing early August. The JP auditions were originally meant to close about a week earlier than the EN ones, so it is possible we might also be getting new EN members in the near future. Nothing confirmed yet that I can see, just some food for thought if you also happen to be a monolingual idiot like myself. Now, even though we just talked about some upcoming debuts, let's get into the actual debuts and outfits section of the video. We had a bunch of agency debuts that we talked about last week, with a few English agencies debuting their first, second and third waves. Noah Talent debuted the first generation of their new Raven project, with the new Very Blue generation of Sayu, Rita and Ria debuting, along with dropping a group original song called Break and Bend. First Stage Production debuted their second generation Ravenous, with the 5 new boys also dropping an official music video for their song Night Today. And lastly, Globey debuted 4 new girls with their 3rd generation Hexakai. Cottontail teased an upcoming debut set for November 23rd. Merryweather debuted his Wizard model and dropped a new lore movie, and Lida Oriana had her re-debut. That was a pretty short section, probably because I covered most of it in the first part of the video, but now it's time for the events and releases of the week. We'll start as usual with Hololive, where Iris had her anniversary 3D live with a bunch of other Hololivers as guests, which she followed up with the release of her new original song. Hololive Suisei announced another live show set for early 2025 and dropped this new song Awake, and Hololive as a whole announced chapter 2 of their enigmatic recollection project. If you happen to miss the first chapter and have no idea what this is, then lucky for you, Callie, Gigi and Bibu did a recap stream just a few days ago. But basically it was a Minecraft server the EN girls all participated in and kinda roleplayed on with an overarching story. We don't know what form the next chapter is going to take, but it'll probably be just as unhinged as the first. QE's yearly Streamer Awards announced the nominations for several of their categories, including the Best VTuber Award, where the nominations were Zentria, Dokibird, Ironmouse and Vidal or Neurosama. There was a little discourse as always with awards show where people complained about it being basically a popularity contest, but honestly, if you've been keeping track of VTubing this year, you'd know each of these guys more than deserves the award. Ironmouse broke Twitch's all-time sub record and raised a ton of money for charity. Neuro streams are genuinely one of a kind on the platform, and Vito's made a ton of improvements to her tech this year. I probably don't even really need to say anything about Doki unless you've been living under a rock, but she's had an amazing year following the mess she was forced to go through, and Zen is consistently one of the hardest working streamers out there, and I personally am stoked that she's accepting this nomination, since not only does she 100% deserve it, but a few years ago she withdrew from the Streamy Awards after being nominated, so it's cool to see her keeping her spot. We also had Onigiri getting nominated for the Best Creative Art Streamer, Vshojo for Best Content Organisation, Ironmouse's Subathon for Best Marathon Stream, and Ironmouse for the Sapphire Award. Malaysian agency MyHoloTV announced its rebranding to Violet? I'm not sure on the pronunciation, but they also announced a new joint venture in Vogi. Offkai Expo announced their Gen 4 event set to take place in San Jose in June of next year. Lena showed off her Bleed Purple statue, and Noah's new talent Ria announced an upcoming Overwatch 2 tournament for the Vtuber community, with the prize money going to charity. And for some more charity stuff, we had Umi announcing her Wish-giving concert, where 10 Vtubers are going to be singing to raise money for Make-A-Wish on the 23rd and 24th of November. And we also had Odyssey Eurobeat raising over $15,000 for F Cancer. Also, the Arium US app had its launch this past week, along with the debut of its founding streamers. We've talked about Arium a fair bit over the past weeks, both in videos and on stream, and from what I can see so far, it seems to have gone pretty well on both the viewer and streamer side of things. Obviously, we'll have to wait to see how it goes going forward, but I'm hoping it keeps doing well, since we could honestly use more competition in the streaming platform space. Now for the musical part of the video, we had Hololive's Muna dropping her new original song Multiverse, Narissa releasing that Espresso cover we talked about last week, Mythos' Dio released this insane cover of Stellar, which is such a difficult song to cover, Production Kawaii's Nova covered Unravel, yes, the Tokyo Ghoul meme song, Avalon's Lucian released his original song Dear Yesterday, Rose Doodle covered Popipo, Pika sang Mochi Mochi, Ina and Illyria's Niji Encounter song Solar Dawn had its MV released, Ren released his original song Atmosphere, Amelie and Bao covered Dance Dance Dance, Edo's Taiga covered Bakamitai, Tonya released her Burnus cover, and McDonald's released a cover of King. Yeah, the song that every VTuber ever covers. Honestly, I think it's just a matter of time until we get a Ronald McDonald VTuber of some kind. And now for the weekly drama, graduations and hiatuses, where thankfully there wasn't that much. It's mostly just some updates on previous dramas. We're going to start with a small Wactor update, where if you're not familiar with Wactor or their weird rebrand is 910 Inc., then that's kind of a whole video subject, but basically they're almost certainly the worst VTuber agency we've ever seen with how they treat their talents. And one of those talents, Kurari Rose, has been involved in a legal dispute with Wactor for around 2 years, centered on a claim for a penalty payment. Thankfully, this week we got good news in that the courts ruled in their favor and dismissed Wactor's claims. It still sucks that they got sucked into this big of a legal argument due to such a scummy agency, and there's still misinformation circling about them online, but in general, if you ever see a situation involving Wactor on the internet, it's a safe bet to assume the agency was being scummy to the talents. AnyColor posted this update to the Yab situation we talked about a few months ago, where an external musician took photos of and ridiculed one of the nijisanji livers while working for the company. In this update, they talk about pursuing legal action against people perpetuating false info and harassment against the affected livers following this situation. Idol posted this update about their redacted liver, and on first glance you'd be forgiven for thinking it was some sort of SCP article. Essentially, Idol Redacted is an idol talent that decided to retire their existing persona and rebrand with a new look and name. Until that rebrand is complete, they're currently operating under the redacted account you see here. In this update from Idol, they clarify that her break from streaming and lack of support towards goal fulfillment has been due to previous management issues, and that her inability to stream wasn't her choice. They reassure fans that her new name and model is just around the corner, so we should be seeing her re-debut shortly. And that should do us for another week. Honestly, pretty chill overall, mostly just a bunch of the debuts we've been waiting on, which is a welcome change. I said this on stream and in the community post, but there might be some non-news content coming to the channel soon, just because I'm kinda getting a bit burnt out on just doing anime people news. So if you get jump scared by non-news content, that's why. As always, thanks to all my members, and if there's anything I missed this week or that you want me to cover next week, let me know down below or hop in the Discord. I'll probably catch you next week.